When the plane landed at JFK International Airport, I glanced at my watch. It was 3:20 a.m. I should have been attending the closing ceremony of Paris Fashion Week, but instead, I quietly returned to New York. "Ma'am, should we head straight to the penthouse?" Marcus, my driver, asked as he carefully lifted my luggage. I nodded slightly, pulling my Hermes silk scarf higher to cover half my face. I had shortened the trip that was supposed to last 3 more days. There was no clear reason, just that phone call from Graham Whitaker the day before, his tone distant. "Have fun, no need to come home early." That one sentence made me suspicious. 5 years of marriage. I knew my husband too well. The kinder he acted, the more certain it was that something was wrong. Dawn was just breaking when the black Mercedes rolled into the Upper East Side. I gestured for Marcus to stop at the gate and wheeled my suitcase inside myself. I wanted to give Graham a little surprise. The door opened smoothly when I placed my finger on the fingerprint lock. I slipped off my Jimmy Choo heels, carried them in my hand, and walked barefoot across the marble floor. The master bedroom was empty, the bed neatly made as if untouched. I unlocked my phone and accessed the security camera system. Just as I was about to call him, I heard voices upstairs. Carefully, I climbed the staircase, heart pounding, heading toward the sound. The last room down the hall, the one once meant for our future child. After 5 years, that room had remained empty. Now the door was slightly ajar, light spilling through the crack. "My brother said this is the brightest room, so he insisted it should be yours, Valerie." My sister-in-law Nicole Whitaker's honeyed voice rang out, sending a chill down my spine. "Really? A special place like this? Maybe I could live here," a young, timid voice replied. "Of course. My brother's lucky to have someone young and beautiful like you. But you're just as lucky." Nicole's laughter cut through the air like a knife. "Come here, look at this closet. Graham had everything tailored to your size. Do you prefer Hermes or Chanel?" My fists clenched so tight, my nails dug into my skin. I pushed the door open a little wider, and the sight before me froze my blood. Nicole was lovingly wrapping her arm around a young girl no more than 22, showing her a closet full of luxury brands. The blouse the girl wore was from Givenchy, the one Graham claimed had been lost last month. My head felt like it would explode, but I forced myself to stay calm. My hands trembling, I pulled out my phone, silenced it, and began recording. "Nicole, what if your sister-in-law comes home unexpectedly?" Valerie asked, biting her lip, though her eyes glittered with greed. "Ha! That cruel insult about her not having children," Nicole sneered. "What place does she have in this house? She's just a walking ATM. Don't worry, she's in Paris burning money. Even if she comes back, she knows who really runs this place." For 5 years, I had loved Nicole like my own sister. When she graduated, I used every connection I had to get her a job paying $150,000 a year at Harrington Group. On her wedding day, I gifted her an apartment and a car. If it weren't for the Harrington money, do you think my brother would have even noticed her? Always acting so elegant and proper, so annoying. But you're different, young and sweet. Your brother said once I get pregnant, he'll divorce her. The world spun. If I hadn't leaned against the wall, I would have collapsed. Graham Whitaker, you truly were vile. I was about to burst in when my phone vibrated. Dad flashed on the screen. I took a deep breath and answered. "Rosalind, where are you?" My father's voice was low and unusually stern. "I'm home, Dad." "Good. We just found irregular cash flows from Whitaker Construction. Graham's transferring a large sum overseas. Keep an eye on him." I looked at the half-open door and smirked. "Dad, I don't think that'll be necessary anymore." I left the house silently. Sitting back in the car, uncontrollable tremors ran through me. Marcus glanced at me in the rearview mirror, concerned. "Ma'am, you don't look well. Drive to the office," I said calmly, "and call my branch director at JP Morgan Chase. I need to freeze several credit cards immediately. 6 black cards, each tied to Harrington Group accounts used by my in-laws to spend nearly $700,000 a year. Graham, Nicole, his parents, even the freeloading uncle each had one. It was time to take them back. Within minutes, I completed the transactions through the banking app. This was only the beginning. Graham, Nicole, you'll both pay for this betrayal. Just as I finished, my phone rang again. It was Nicole. Rosalind. What the hell's going on? My card's not working. I was so embarrassed. Probably just a system update, I replied coolly. I'll check. Check fast, I have plans with friends. I hung up before she could finish. Moments later, Graham called. Seeing his name made my stomach twist. I declined the call. Marcus, I said, lifting my gaze, head to Harrington Group headquarters. I need to see Mr. Caldwell. Nicole's $150,000 job was about to end. Sitting in the leather chair of the Harrington Group president's office, I tapped my fingers lightly on the armrest. Mr. Caldwell, a former subordinate of my father, looked uneasy. Miss Harrington, Mrs. Whitaker is your sister-in-law. Isn't this a bit harsh? He asked, adjusting his gold-rimmed glasses and wiping his brow. Mr. Caldwell, do you remember who handled your son's drug incident in the U.S. a few years ago? His face went pale. Understood, he said quickly, lifting the office phone. Miss Green, notify HR to prepare Nicole Whitaker's termination papers. Settle everything today. I set down my teacup and smiled faintly. Thank you. Oh, and I heard Harrington Group's having trouble with the Midtown Project land deal. My father plays golf with the city's planning director. Caldwell's eyes lit up. Miss Harrington, you can count on me. I'll handle it perfectly. When I stepped out of the building, the sunlight was blinding. I called my best friend, Olivia Chen. Free? Let's grab a drink. 30 minutes later, at the Four Seasons Hotel New York downtown bar, Olivia arrived in black Louboutins and a sharp-tailored suit. Every man in the room turned to look. Rosalind Harrington, back from Paris this early? She arched a brow as she sat down. Don't tell me. Graham's up to his old tricks again. I stirred the rose petal in my tea and recounted every detail of the morning. Olivia cursed loudly, earning a few glances from nearby tables. Not that she cared. That ungrateful brat Nicole. After everything you did for her, she sides with your husband to fund his mistress. That's not all, I said, showing her an email I'd just received. A private investigator had sent me this. The girl's name was Valerie Reed. 22, a junior majoring in theater arts at NYU. And guess who introduced her to Graham? Olivia flipped through the file, her eyes widening. Nicole. Exactly. I replied with an icy smile. And not only that, Nicole had used my connections to get Valerie an internship at a media production company, a subsidiary of Harrington Group. Unbelievable. Has she lost her mind? Olivia slammed her hand on the table, furious. What are you going to do? I calmly applied hand cream. First, I've frozen all the family's black cards. Second, I glanced at my watch. Nicole should have received her termination letter by now. Olivia whistled. Nice. But your in-laws won't take this quietly, she warned as I lifted my cup. By the way, I've been investigating Whitaker Construction's accounts. Your father mentioned Graham transferred a large amount of money abroad. Her expression turned serious. She'd already suspected something. The cash flows from several Whitaker construction projects were highly suspicious. I think Graham's embezzling company funds. I knew Graham was ungrateful, but he actually stole from his own family's company. As we were talking, my phone rang again. My mother-in-law. Rosalind, what's going on? Your father and I are in Los Angeles buying furniture and the card won't work. Her voice was full of annoyance. Oh, mother-in-law, the bank is probably just updating their system. That happens all the time, I replied sheepishly. Don't worry, I'll look into it tomorrow. But this sofa is a global limited edition, you know. She grumbled. I cut her off. Mom, I'm in a meeting. I'll call back later. Try another card to pay. Before she could answer, I decisively hung up. Olivia smirked in approval. Nice performance, Rosalind. I smiled bitterly. 5 years as a wife, if I'd learned anything, it was how to act. The phone rang again. Graham, Olivia, and I looked at each other. I put the call on speaker. Rosalind, what the hell are you doing? Graham's yell came through the phone. Nicole has been fired without cause. Was that you? I kept the speaker on so Olivia could hear. Graham, darling, what are you talking about? She was fired? Why? I pretended to be flustered. Don't play dumb. Caldwell says it was an order from above. Who besides Harrington Group can make one call and have a director at Whitaker Holdings fired? I covered my mouth and coughed to hide my laugh. Honey, I really don't know anything. I just got off the plane. I'm still jet-lagged. Where are you? We need to talk. Having tea with Olivia. Why don't you come up? We're at the Four Seasons New York downtown. I'll be there, he said, and hung up. Olivia finally let out a quiet laugh. Oh my God, Rosalind, I don't know how you act like that. Hollywood should give you an Oscar. I shook my head and the smile faded. He wasn't coming to talk, he was coming to check if I was guilty. So what now? Let things simmer a bit. Nicole losing her job is just the appetizer. 20 minutes later, as expected, Graham still hadn't come. Instead, Nicole posted something on Instagram. Time puts everyone in their place. Don't be too proud. Karma will take care of it. The photo was a black and white selfie, her eyes red, as if she had been crying. I liked it with a cold smile. Olivia was exasperated. That girl is so stupid, provoking you now? That family always favors the son. But they spoil Nicole, I said, setting the phone aside. What are you going to do about that, Valerie? Olivia asked. For now, let's see how long she lasts when Graham has furnished an entire closet for her. We'll see how long she holds up. Rosalind, I have to be honest. If Graham is embezzling, this is no longer just a personal matter. If a scandal breaks, it could drag down Harrington Group. What do you mean? I mean, you should prepare for the worst. Gather evidence and protect yourself. A man like Graham, when backed into a corner, can do anything. Right. Investigate Valerie Reed thoroughly. I have a feeling this isn't simple. I have to get back to the law office. Clients are waiting. Are you coming home tonight? Of course, after all, it's still my home. After saying goodbye to Olivia, I went straight to my father's company. When he saw me walk in, he stopped the meeting. Dad, I need you to investigate the cash flows of Whitaker Construction, I said bluntly. What happened? I told him everything from this morning and my suspicion that Graham was embezzling. His face grew sterner and finally he slammed the table. Damn it, he growled. I knew that man was untrustworthy from the start, but you kept defending him. This isn't the time for that. The important thing is to find out how much he transferred and where. My father pressed the intercom to call the chief financial officer and the head of risk. While we waited, he handed me a stack of papers. Take a look at this. It was Whitaker Construction's bank statements for the past 3 months. Large transfers stood out clearly. The total was nearly $14 million. Where did this money go? To a shell company in the Cayman Islands, my father said with disdain. Graham thought he'd covered his tracks, but he forgot my father has trusted people in the bank. 14 million. Rosalind, my father looked at me solemnly. What are you going to do? First, gather all the evidence, then make them pay. By the time I left Harrington Group, it was dark. Sitting in the car, looking at Graham's missed calls and Nicole's insulting messages, I felt exhausted. Marcus glanced at me in the rearview mirror, worried. Ma'am, shall we go home now? Yes. Also, call the locksmith tomorrow. I want all the locks changed. All of them, ma'am? Marcus was surprised. Yes, all of them, including Graham's and Nicole's rooms. As the car entered the Upper East Side gated community, I saw the lights on in the house. Graham was home. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and stepped inside. Graham jumped up from the sofa, his face pale. Finally, you're home. Is something wrong? Something wrong? Are you still going to act innocent? That's Nicole's business. It's because of you and the card issue. I avoided him and set my bag down casually on the rack. Honey, I really don't know anything. Don't be childish. You think I don't know what you're plotting? I pulled my hand back. Graham, keep your promises. For 5 years everything has been yours. This house is yours. The car is yours. Even my job depends on your family. Anger rose within me, but I held it back. And with the money from my house, you support your mistress, right? Graham's face changed color. What nonsense are you talking about? Valerie Reed, 22 years old, a theater arts student. Do you want me to continue? Graham's expression shifted from panic to fury. You dare investigate me? It's your lovely sister. This morning she took your little lover to see their home, and I saw it with my own eyes. Rosalind, listen to me, it's just a misunderstanding. Enough, I'm tired. We'll talk tomorrow. As I started up the stairs, Graham shouted after me, Rosalind, don't go too far. You think Harrington Group is so important? I, Graham Whitaker, can live well without your family. Without turning back, I simply waved my hand slightly. We'll see. I entered the bedroom, locked the door, and collapsed to the floor. Finally, the tears I had held back all day came pouring out. My phone vibrated a message from Olivia. I've got it. Valerie Reed isn't clean. She's connected to several high-profile businessmen. Looks like someone's backing her. I'll tell you the details tomorrow. The night before my father-in-law's birthday, I stood before my closet, my hand brushing past rows of designer evening gowns. I stopped at the red Valentino dress, deep V-neck, blazing red like blood, like fire. My phone buzzed again, a confirmation from Olivia. Valerie Reed will be at the party too. Nicole arranged it, said Graham is bringing her as his goddaughter. I put the phone away, pulled out the red dress and tried it on. 5 years ago, on my wedding day, my mother-in-law had said, red is too flashy, not fitting for a dignified daughter-in-law. Tomorrow, I'd make her eyes burn. The party was held in the Royal Ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton, New York. I deliberately arrived 20 minutes late. When the staff opened the grand golden doors, I stepped in, my diamond-studded Jimmy Choo heels clicking softly against the floor. Every gaze turned toward me. Rosalind, dear, you made it. My mother-in-law forced a smile, her eyes flicking down to the crimson dress, flashing with irritation. Mother, father, happy birthday, I smiled, handing over the gift box. Inside was a Patek Philippe watch worth hundreds of thousands of dollars purchased with their own black card. My father-in-law accepted it, his face stiff. Your presence is enough. Across the room, Graham and Nicole stood beside Valerie Reed. She wore a white lace dress, feigning innocence, but on her wrist sparkled a limited edition Cartier bracelet, the same one I'd seen the receipt for in Graham's jacket pocket last month. Who's this girl? I asked, pretending to be casual. Nicole jumped in quickly. Oh, a cousin of a college friend. Her name's Valerie. Valerie, this is your sister-in-law. Valerie extended her hand, speaking softly. So nice to meet you, Rosalind. Nicole's told me so much about you. Really? What exactly did she say? Valerie's hand froze midair, her cheeks flushing. Nicole hurried to cover. She admires you a lot, says you're elegant and have impeccable style. Graham does have good taste. Graham couldn't take it anymore. Rosalind, do you think it's appropriate to wear that to my father's birthday party? Why not? Mrs. Caldwell just told me this color flatters my skin tone. Graham started to speak, but Nicole tugged at him. Don't, everyone's watching. I gracefully lifted my champagne glass and walked over to the table of prominent businessmen, old friends of my father's and partners of my in-laws. Mr. Henderson, Mr. Carter, long time no see. Rosalind, you look more radiant than ever. How's your father? Still busy as always, thank you. Ah, we heard Whitaker Construction's having trouble with the Hudson North Complex project. The two men exchanged glances. Mr. Carter lowered his voice. Rosalind, best not to discuss that. WCI's finances are shaky. The banks have started to pay attention. I feigned surprise. Really? Graham never mentioned anything to me. You're too naive. Mr. Henderson sighed. Just then, Nicole approached with Valerie in tow. Mr. Henderson, Mr. Carter, good evening, she said brightly, then nudged Valerie forward. Valerie's been dying to meet you both. Valerie raised her glass gracefully. I've heard so much about you, gentlemen. Allow me to toast to your health. Watching her performance, I almost laughed out loud. The girl knew how to charm people, it was no wonder Graham was infatuated. Nicole whispered something into Valerie's ear. Valerie nodded, picked up a glass of red wine, and walked toward me. Rosalind, she said sweetly, a toast to you. Thank you for inviting me. I looked at the wine in her hand and immediately understood. As she tilted the glass, she accidentally spilled the entire drink across my dress. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so clumsy. Valerie feigned panic, dabbing at me, but her eyes gleamed with triumph. Graham and Nicole rushed over, their faces struggling to hide their smirks. Rosalind, don't be upset. Valerie didn't mean it, Graham said, his tone daring me to react. It's fine. As everyone expected me to make a scene, a waiter brushed past Valerie, tipping his tray. 3 glasses of red wine spilled all over her pristine white dress. Ah, are you blind? Do you know how much this dress costs? The innocent white swan instantly turned into a shrill, vulgar woman. My mother-in-law hurried over. What is going on, Rosalind? Did you humiliate our guest? Mother, as you can see, it was the waiter's mistake. Calmly, I pulled out my phone and played an audio recording. Nicole's voice echoed through the ballroom. She's just a walking ATM. My brother said once she gets pregnant, he'll divorce her immediately. Murmurs spread across the room. Graham shouted, Rosalind, how dare you? Dare what? To expose your family's true face. I turned to my father-in-law. Happy birthday, father. Do you like my gift? Teasing. Rosalind, Graham roared, lunging toward me with his hand raised. Before he could touch me, 2 men in black suits appeared, grabbing his wrist firmly. Mr. Whittaker, please remain calm, one said coldly. I straightened my dress, bowed slightly. My apologies for ruining the evening. If you'll excuse me. The car rolled away from the Ritz-Carlton, New York. Through the window, I saw Valerie waving for a taxi, her once white dress now a blotchy pale pink mess. At Olivia's apartment, I handed her an envelope. Financial reports of Whittaker Construction for the past 3 years. Take a look. Olivia flipped through them, her expression tightening. Rosalind, this isn't just embezzlement. Graham's been falsifying records, inflating project costs. At least $35 million. $35 million, he's lost his mind. And worse, Olivia pointed to a page. The money wasn't transferred to his personal account, it went to an investment firm called Argos Capital LLC. Argos Capital. I frowned. Wait, isn't that Richard Monroe's company? Yes. Richard Monroe, New York's real estate tycoon, your father's longtime rival. If Graham and Monroe have teamed up. My phone rang. I hesitated, then answered. Mrs. Harrington? This is Valerie Reed. Can we talk? About what? About Mr. Whittaker and Mr. Monroe. I have confidential information, but I need protection. Go to Olivia Chen's law office immediately. I'll send you the address. Don't tell anyone. I hung up, and Olivia frowned. You believe her? No. But if she comes to us on her own, let's see what she knows. 30 minutes. Later, the doorbell rang. Olivia looked through the peephole, then opened the door. Gone was the glamorous girl from the party. Valerie now looked pale, her eyes swollen from crying. Rosalind, she whispered, then dropped to her knees. I'm sorry. Talk. What's going on? Between sobs, Valerie confessed. I didn't approach Mr. Whittaker willingly. Mr. Monroe ordered me to. He wanted me to obtain trade secrets from Whittaker Construction and Harrington Group. Go on. He promised me $2 million and to fund my studies abroad if I succeeded, she said shakily. But today I realized he never planned to keep his word. After the party, he sent people to threaten me. Told me to stay silent. Otherwise what? Otherwise he'd destroy my career and hurt my family. Valerie broke down in tears. Rosalind, I know I was wrong. Please help me. Did Graham know you were Monroe's pawn? No. Mr. Monroe said Graham was just a piece on the board. Once used, he'd be discarded. A pawn. I shivered. What if Monroe's real target wasn't the Whittaker family but Harrington Group? Olivia, arrange protection for Valerie. I need to see my father right now. Valerie clutched my dress. Rosalind, there's one more thing. Mr. Whittaker and Mr. Monroe plan to transfer some important documents next week. Something related to the Hudson North Complex project. Are you sure? Valerie nodded quickly. Mr. Whittaker said it while drunk that this time, they'd strike a heavy blow against Harrington Group. Graham hadn't just betrayed me, he intended to destroy my entire family. Olivia, prepare the legal documents. It's time for Graham Whittaker to learn the consequences of playing with fire. The press conference was set for 10 a.m. I arrived at 7. Olivia was already there with her team, setting up the conference room. On the big screen, the slideshow I had made was being tested. I walked over and handed Olivia a cup of coffee. She rubbed her tired, red eyes. Everything's ready. But are you sure, Rosalind? Once this goes public, there's no turning back. I took a sip, the bitterness spreading across my tongue. Since the moment Nicole brought Valerie into my house, there's been no turning back. Olivia sighed and handed me the morning paper. The front page read, "Not from a business family. 5 years of infertility lead to husband's betrayal. Heir of Harrington Group reportedly under psychiatric care." Your in-laws released this, Olivia said, showing me social media posts Nicole had hired influencers to spread the rumors. My fingers trembled slightly as I scrolled through the vicious comments. My in-laws were trying to destroy my reputation. Don't worry, Olivia placed a hand on my shoulder. After the press conference, those lies will vanish. I'm not afraid of rumors. I'm just wondering why Graham's in such a hurry. He should have tried to calm me down before draining the rest of Harrington Group's assets. Olivia frowned. You're implying someone's behind him? Richard Monroe never interferes without a reason. Just then, my phone rang. Graham's name appeared. Rosalind, can we talk? About what? I know you're holding a press conference. Don't do it. Family matters should stay private. Let's talk in person, please. I raised an eyebrow. Now you're afraid of airing family matters? Funny, you didn't think that way when you were in bed with your mistress. Rosalind, I was wrong, truly. Give me another chance. Meet me face to face. I glanced at Olivia. Fine. After the press conference, 2 p.m., at the Plaza Hotel restaurant. Olivia's eyes widened. You're actually meeting him? Of course. The fact that he's desperate to stop the press conference means we're right on track. By 9:30, reporters started arriving. I slipped into the dressing room. Mrs. Harrington, would you like a strong or soft look? The makeup artist asked. Make me look fragile. She looked surprised but obeyed. At exactly 10 o'clock, I stepped onto the podium in an elegant white suit. Camera flashes erupted around me. I bowed slightly, projecting both vulnerability and strength. Thank you all for coming. Recently there have been many rumors about my marriage. Today I'm here to set the record straight. I turned on the big screen. A medical report from Johns Hopkins Hospital, the most prestigious in the country, appeared. Some claimed I was infertile. Here's proof that I am in perfect health. Next I played an audio recording Graham's honeyed voice speaking to Valerie. Baby, once I secure the Hudson North Complex project, I'll divorce that cruel woman. The room erupted. As for the rumors that I'm mentally unstable, I gave a faint smile, showing a series of photos Graham and Valerie vacationing in Malibu. At the same time I was in the hospital caring for my post-surgery mother-in-law. Finally, I revealed my trump card: the irregular financial reports from Whittaker Construction, clear evidence of Graham's embezzlement. As Graham Whittaker's wife, I never wanted to make this public, my voice trembled. But since my in-laws spread lies, I have no choice but to defend myself. As I stepped off the stage, Olivia grabbed my hand. Brilliant. That was Oscar-worthy. Public opinion's already shifting. I dabbed my eyes. It was just from eye drops. Olivia cheered. WCI stock dropped 5% at the opening and just hit the lower limit. This is only the beginning. At 2 p.m., I arrived on time at the Plaza Hotel. Graham was already there, looking disheveled, eyes bloodshot. When he saw me, he jumped to his feet. I gestured for him to sit and ordered tea. The press conference. Was that really necessary? He muttered, wringing his hands. Compared to the lies your family spread online, I simply told the truth. It wasn't me. It was Nicole. She was reckless. I already scolded her. And the article about the infertile daughter-in-law of 5 years? Was that Nicole too? Rosalind, we've been together for 5 years. Do you really trust others more than me? I almost laughed. Do you even remember those 5 years when you were sleeping with your mistress? His face went pale. He grabbed my hand. Rosalind, I'm sorry. Give me one more chance. I'll end things with Valerie right now. I pulled my hand away. It's too late. No, it's not. We can start over. I'll do whatever you want. I want 51% of Whitaker Construction's shares. Can you give me that? He froze. That's impossible. Then there's nothing left to say, I said, standing up. Wait. Rosalind, what do you really want? I leaned down and whispered in his ear. I want you to lose everything. Your reputation, your money, and your power. When I stepped out of the restaurant, Olivia's car was already waiting. Well, just as expected. He only pretended to be remorseful to test where I stand. Olivia handed me a folder. Fresh intel. This morning, Graham went to Richard Monroe's office. Stayed there for 2 hours. I opened it. Photos from the private investigator showed Graham sneaking into the Argos Capitol building and leaving with an angry expression. Find out what they discussed, I said. Already on it, Olivia replied, then added, oh, and about Valerie. What about her? Last night, she went to your in-laws' mansion and had a huge fight with Nicole. Strangely, it wasn't about Graham, it was about money. The $2 million Monroe promised her. Possibly. After the argument, Valerie got a phone call and left in a hurry. No one's seen her since. My phone rang again. It was my father. Rosalind, where are you? Come home right now. Richard Monroe just called. He wants to talk about you and Graham. He said he could mediate, but only if. My father's voice trembled with anger. We give him 30% of the Hudson North Complex project shares. Exactly as I suspected. Monroe was after the project. Dad, don't you dare agree. Graham's embezzlement is definitely connected to him. I know. Monroe underestimated the Harrington Group. Come home. We'll discuss it in detail. The Harrington Group estate in Long Island sat on 5 acres. My father had bought it at an auction 10 years ago. As the car drove in, I noticed the number of security guards had doubled. My father was waiting in his study, papers spread across the desk. Rosalind, we traced the money Graham sent to Monroe and found something interesting. I stepped closer. There were complex money flow charts on the screen. This money, after passing through 3 intermediary companies, my father pointed to a line, ends up in an offshore account. And the account holder is Graham Whitaker. He's laundering money. Not just that. We suspect he's working with Richard Monroe to siphon funds from Harrington Group. A thought struck me. Dad, Valerie Reed might be the key. Valerie Reed. You mean his mistress? She said Monroe sent her to get close to Graham. If Graham and Monroe were allies, why would Monroe need Valerie to get involved? Maybe Graham didn't know Monroe's true plan at first, just another pawn being used. Right then, Olivia burst into the room. Bad news. Whitaker Construction just released a statement claiming Rosalind Harrington's accusations are defamatory, and that they'll be filing a lawsuit. My father snorted in disdain. Thrashing before they drown, let them. That's not all, Olivia said, handing him her phone. Graham just gave an interview on CNN Business, saying Rosalind is mentally unstable, under treatment. And that everything she said at the press conference was delusional. On screen, Graham appeared well-dressed, feigning heartbreak. I love my wife deeply, but ever since she miscarried, she's fallen into depression and refused treatment. I trembled with fury. I had never been pregnant in my life. My father's face turned pale as he watched. That bastard. Olivia's phone rang. She listened for a moment, her expression shifting. What, are you sure? Okay, keep monitoring. After hanging up, she turned to us. They found Valerie. She's at Columbia University Medical Center. Someone beat her badly. Extent of injuries unknown. Who did it? Not clear. But before she lost consciousness, she kept repeating 2 words. Olivia took a deep breath. Documents. Documents. I immediately remembered Valerie's warning that Graham and Monroe planned to transfer critical files. Dad, I have to see her. Go, he said firmly. I'll assign security to protect her. Olivia, call the best doctors. As I left the study, my phone rang again, an unknown number. Hello. Rosalind, it was Nicole, though her voice was weaker. Looks like you've won. At least I haven't lost. My brother just signed some papers. All your assets, shares, and properties are being frozen. By law, if someone's declared mentally ill, their husband controls their estate. You forged my psychiatric records. Smart, but too late. Nicole sneered. Oh, and by the way, your father's company books seem to have a problem. Monroe's having coffee with some friends from the Securities Commission. What is it? Olivia asked, alarmed. I repeated Nicole's words. My father slammed his hand on the desk. Monroe, the sly old fox. Dad, our books are clean. Yes, but if they want to dig, they'll find something to twist. What do we do now? We split up. Olivia, go with Rosalind to the hospital to see Valerie. I need to meet a few old friends. Be careful, Dad. Don't worry. I've survived in this world for 40 years. On the way to the hospital, my phone kept pinging with notifications. Whitaker Construction's statement was blowing up online. Public opinion was split. Some supported me, while others doubted the mental illness story they fabricated. Stop reading. Olivia took my phone. Those are all paid troll accounts spreading lies. This battle was far more dangerous than I'd imagined. Graham, Monroe, Nicole each had their own agenda. But now, they'd truly provoked me. Olivia, contact the press. Tomorrow I'm holding another conference. Another one. The odds are against us now. Exactly. They call me crazy, then I'll show them what crazy really looks like. Outside the VIP ward of Columbia Medical Center, 2 bodyguards approached. Mrs. Harrington, Miss Chen. Miss Green is conscious, but weak. I nodded and entered. Valerie lay on her side, her face swollen, her lips bruised. When she saw me, she flinched and hid under the blanket. Who did this to you? I asked directly. Valerie stayed silent, biting her lip, glancing toward the security camera in the corner. Olivia understood immediately and made a call. Detective Hughes, can you turn off the camera in VIP room 3? Yes, thank you. Now you can talk, I said, pulling up a chair. Tears welled in Valerie's eyes. It was Monroe's men. They said I betrayed him, failed the job. You went to see him? I only went to demand my money. He didn't pay the $2 million he promised. You tried to blackmail him. Olivia's voice turned cold. Valerie turned pale. I only said that if he didn't pay me, I'd tell you everything. The plan between Mr. Monroe and Mr. Whitaker, the Hudson North Complex project. The door burst open. A doctor in a white coat entered with 2 nurses. Time for examination, he said flatly. Family members, please step outside. We just got here. Hospital policy, he replied, moving closer to Valerie and taking a syringe from the tray. Valerie struggled violently. No. I don't need an injection. Rosalind, help me. Olivia stepped in front of her. Wait. What's that for? Sedative. The patient is agitated. I'm her lawyer. You can't inject her without a clear diagnosis. The doctor hesitated, then said stiffly, it's a medical order. Signed by who? Olivia demanded. As they argued, Valerie clutched my wrist tightly and scribbled 3 numbers into my palm. 528. Before I could react, the doctor shoved Olivia aside and injected Valerie's arm. Within seconds, her eyes glazed over, and her hand slipped from mine. Which department are you from? Show me your medical license. No one answered. They turned and hurried out. That's strange, Olivia said, then ran after them. Moments later she returned, pale. They're gone. No one's in the hallway. I immediately called the guards. Lock down the elevators and stairwells. Find that doctor and the 2 fake nurses. 528. What does it mean? I murmured. A code. A room number? My phone buzzed again, a message from my father. Check social media. I opened Twitter. Trending at the top. Number Valerie accused Rosalind. A long post from Valerie's verified account. Posted 30 minutes ago. Claimed she was an innocent student deceived by my husband, and that I had threatened, blackmailed, and had her beaten. Attached were photos of her in the hospital, covered in bruises. A pack of lies. She's unconscious. Who could have written that? Nicole. She bribed someone at the hospital to sedate Valerie, then posted this from her account. Right then, my phone rang. It was my father-in-law. Rosalind, his voice was unusually gentle. I saw what's online. Nicole was just foolish. Let's talk calmly. I laughed. Now you want to talk to me? We're still family after all. Tomorrow let's have lunch, you and your father. We'll settle everything peacefully. No need. Say what you want now. Rosalind Whittaker Construction is in trouble. Stocks are plummeting, banks are calling in loans. I'd like you to ask your father for a $14 million advance secured by WCI shares. $14 million. Did you forget? This morning WCI announced they're suing me for defamation, and Graham called me mentally unstable. That's all a misunderstanding. I scolded Graham, told him to retract the statement. 5 years as your daughter-in-law, I know you too well. It's too late. Oh, and by the way, why don't you ask Graham who he's been sending $14 million to in the Cayman Islands for the past 6 months? Olivia stared at me wide-eyed. You're going all in. I opened my banking app and showed her. The money Graham embezzled was funneled into a shell company controlled by Richard Monroe. So Monroe's been using Graham to drain WCI, Olivia realized. Not just that. His ultimate target is the Hudson North Complex project. When we left the hospital, a swarm of reporters blocked the exit. Cameras flashed non-stop, blinding through the car windows. Back to the apartment, ma'am? Marcus, my driver, asked. No. To Harrington Group headquarters. My father was in an emergency meeting with the board. When I walked in, he stopped immediately. He handed me several folders. Monroe has started feeding stories to the press, questioning Harrington Group's financial integrity. Our stock dropped 7% today. I opened one file, an article from a financial newspaper titled, Accounting Fraud Allegations at Harrington Group. Mystery surrounds Hudson North Complex funding. Shameless. We invested $1 billion of our own capital, every cent verified. The problem is, Monroe bribed the vice chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Tomorrow an inspection team is coming. This is a full-scale attack. Dad, we have to fight back. How? Monroe's network in politics and finance runs deep. With Valerie Reed, she's the key witness. Before she blacked out, she wrote 3 numbers on my palm. 528. It could be a code or a room number. Olivia suddenly exclaimed, Wait. Graham has a long-term suite at the Plaza Hotel, room 528. Investigate immediately. The Valerie accuses Rosalind post was still topping the trends. We can't let the public be manipulated like this, I said through gritted teeth. Olivia, contact the major outlets. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll hold another press conference. Are you sure? Public sentiment's against us right now. Exactly. They say I threatened Valerie, then let's show them who the real threat is. I opened my photo folder and pulled up the picture the detective had sent Graham and Valerie kissing in a hotel hallway 3 months ago, when he claimed to be on a business trip. This should do. I swiped through more photos, security footage, hotel logs, and wire transfers from Graham to Valerie. Olivia whistled. That's plenty, but do you really need to expose everything? When they forged psychiatric records to steal my assets, did they think that was too much? That night when I returned to my Manhattan apartment, it was late. I had just showered when Olivia called, her voice urgent. I found it. Room 528 is Graham's. The hotel staff said he spent a long time there last night and left with a small safe. And more importantly, this afternoon, Monroe's secretary also entered that room. I instantly understood Valerie's message. The evidence was in room 528. Olivia, get that safe immediately. We're on it, but we might need a search warrant. There's no time. The inspection team arrives tomorrow. We need it tonight. I hung up, got dressed, and was about to leave when the doorbell rang. It was Graham. His face was dark. Rosalind, I know you're in there. Open up. I backed away and called security. He began pounding and kicking the door furiously. You think I don't know you're in there? Open the damn door. The door shook violently. I clutched my phone and retreated toward the balcony. Then bang. The door burst open. Graham stormed in, eyes bloodshot, followed by two burly men. Search. Find her phone, her laptop, everything. He grabbed my wrist, squeezing hard. Where's the evidence? What evidence? I said, forcing calm. Don't play dumb. That slut Valerie told you, didn't she? Where did you hide what's in room 528? I understood instantly the safe contained proof of his crimes. I don't know what you're talking about. This is illegal entry. I've already called the police. Who's going to believe a crazy woman? He raised his hand to hit me. At that moment, 4 bodyguards stormed in and subdued him and the 2 men within seconds. Ma'am, are you all right? The team leader asked. I straightened my blouse and stepped toward Graham, who was pinned to the floor. Graham, we're getting a divorce. You wouldn't dare. Tomorrow at the press conference, I'll make public the evidence that you and Monroe colluded to embezzle funds and defraud Harrington Group. Oh, and by the way, I smiled. Valerie Reed's awake. She's agreed to testify in court. Who do you think the judge will believe, the woman your men nearly beat to death? Or the husband who forged his wife's psychiatric report? Graham's face turned ashen, and he thrashed against the guards. Rosalind, I was wrong. Monroe forced me into it. Enough. I turned to the guards. Call the police. Charges: breaking and entering, and assault. My phone rang. It was Olivia. Rosalind, we got the safe from room 528. Inside were secret contracts between Graham and Monroe, and falsified accounting books from Whitaker Construction. Excellent. And even better, Olivia said excitedly. We found the bribe list Monroe sent to the SEC vice chairman. That's enough to prove they conspired to frame Harrington Group. Tomorrow's press conference will be a storm. I hung up and looked out at the New York night. For the first time, victory felt within reach. Graham, Monroe. Did you really think you could hide the sun with one hand? Tomorrow you'll reap what you've sown. 4 days after the press conference, Graham's lawyer reached out. He wanted a peaceful divorce. Peaceful? After he broke into my home with thugs. On the other end, Jonathan Blake, the Whitaker's seasoned attorney, sounded uneasy. Mrs. Harrington, Mr. Whitaker says it was all a misunderstanding. Tell him tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Chen and Associates. If he doesn't show, he loses his last chance. I hung up and turned to Olivia. Everything ready? She slid a folder across the table. Everything's here. Evidence of embezzlement, assault, forgery. Enough to put him behind bars for 10 years. Inside were all the documents from the safe in room 528, confidential contracts between Graham Whitaker and Richard Monroe, Whitaker Construction's black ledger, and a detailed plan to take down Harrington Group. What about Valerie? She's under protection but mentally unstable. Keeps saying someone's trying to kill her. After I exposed Graham and Valerie's affair, public opinion flipped instantly. Whitaker Construction's stock nosedived for 3 straight days, and banks cut off their credit lines. The Whitaker family was on the verge of bankruptcy. What about Monroe? Olivia asked. I shook my head. Too quiet. Too quiet. It's unsettling. That makes him even more dangerous. He won't stay still for long. Exactly why we have to move fast. Tomorrow we finalize the divorce, then sue Monroe immediately. The next day, I deliberately arrived 20 minutes late. Inside the conference room, Graham and his lawyer were already waiting. You finally decided to show up. I thought you'd lost your nerve. I ignored him and sat down across the table. Olivia began. Per Mrs. Harrington's request, the divorce settlement includes the following terms. First, all marital assets shall be the sole property of Mrs. Harrington. Hold on. Graham interrupted. Based on what? According to applicable New York domestic relations law, and given that you are at fault for the marriage's breakdown. Graham sneered, pulling a stack of papers from his briefcase and tossing them onto the table. Read it. I picked it up. It was a psychiatric evaluation under my name, diagnosis. A fabricated psychiatric evaluation claiming a severe disorder. By law, a patient's assets are managed by their spouse or guardian. Therefore, Rosalind, out of respect for what we had, if you voluntarily give up the assets, I won't have you committed. I pulled a USB drive from my purse and handed it to Olivia. She plugged it in, and the screen lit up with a series of bank statements. On March 15, 2021. Olivia read aloud. Mr. Whitaker transferred $14 million from Whitaker Construction to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. On May 8 of the same year, another $25 million was embezzled. Lies. He shouted, jumping up. We also have the secret contract signed by you and Richard Monroe outlining profit shares from the Hudson North Complex project. Enough, Graham roared, slamming the coffee cup in front of him. The liquid splattered across his white shirt. What do you want, Rosalind? Simple. First, sign the divorce papers and agree to my terms. Second, cooperate with our investigation against Monroe. Third, I paused, publicly apologize to me and my father. This is blackmail. No. It's your last chance. Under applicable federal statutes on embezzlement, embezzlement during management carries a prison sentence of 1 to 6 years. Given the amount you stole, you'll face the maximum. Graham slumped in his chair. His lawyer wiped sweat from his forehead. Mr. Whitaker, I suggest you seriously consider Mrs. Harrington's offer. Rosalind, you're a venomous snake. Like father, like son. The signing went smoothly. Graham relinquished nearly all his assets, keeping only a Porsche and a few personal belongings. In exchange, I agreed not to press criminal charges for embezzlement. Before leaving, I said, "Oh, and Valerie Reed asked me to pass along a message. She's still holding a few interesting things. If you ever bother her or her family again, she'll hold another press conference. That woman, she's still alive? What did you just say?" Nothing, he muttered, avoiding my gaze before hurrying out. Why did he think Valerie might be dead? I turned to Olivia. Where is Valerie now? In a secure location. After the press conference, she was terrified, said people in black were following her. I frowned. I have to see her. No. Too dangerous. She's a live target now. That's exactly why I need to. I believe she knows more than she's told. That afternoon, thanks to Olivia's arrangements, I arrived at a secluded mansion on the outskirts of Washington, D.C. Valerie was being kept in the basement, guarded by 4 security officers around the clock. When she saw me, she shrank back on the sofa like a frightened rabbit. Rosalind. I noticed her left arm was in a sling, and her face was still bruised. Who hit you? It wasn't Graham, was it? She looked up, startled. It was Monroe's men, wasn't it? They said I was useless, that I failed to get the critical files from the Hudson North Complex project, so I stole the documents from Graham's safe. You actually did it. I just wanted to protect myself. Monroe promised me money and a scholarship abroad, but I knew too much. He'd never let me go that easily. Tell me the truth, Valerie. Who are you really? She stayed silent for a long time, then whispered, I'm a theater student, yes. But I'm also a corporate spy trained by Monroe. Olivia, and I stared at her, stunned. Valerie's voice trembled as she went on. Monroe recruits beautiful women and trains them to approach specific targets. Graham was one of them. What he really wanted was the core data of the Hudson North Project, owned by Harrington Group. Because underneath that development site lies a rare earth deposit worth tens of billions of dollars, but that information hasn't been made public. Olivia held her breath. So Monroe's plan was to sink the company and seize the mine. Graham didn't know. At first he thought it was just about profit sharing. By the time he learned the truth, it was too late. It hit me, those men who broke into my house that night weren't just Graham's, they were Monroe's. He knows you stole the files, and he'll do anything to get them back. Yes, this was far beyond a divorce, it was a calculated corporate conspiracy. Valerie, are you willing to testify in court? She shook her head in fear. No, Monroe will kill me. If you don't testify, Monroe and Graham will walk free, and sooner or later, he'll find you anyway. She broke into sobs. I cut in, I can protect you and your family. I'll get you out of the country, give you new identities, a new start. But only if you testify. Really, you mean it? Yes. But you have to decide. I'll think about it. Good. But don't wait too long. Monroe won't sit still. Just then, my phone rang, an unknown number. A rough male voice came through. Rosalind. Don't push your luck. Richard Monroe. He let out a low chuckle. You're clever. But clever people tend to die young. Is that a threat? What you've exposed is only the tip of the iceberg. What about the Nevada mine accident 20 years ago? What happens if the public finds out? My hand trembled. What the hell are you talking about? Ask your father, he said and hung up. The Nevada mine accident. My father had never mentioned it. What's wrong? Olivia asked. Take me to my father. At the Long Island estate, I told him everything. His face went pale. How did he find out? Dad, what really happened? I grabbed his hand. He sighed heavily, voice breaking. When I was starting out, I invested in a mine in Nevada. A methane explosion killed 7 miners. My partner bribed local officials to cover it up. I only found out later, but I stayed silent. If it ever came out, I'd serve at least 7 years in prison. I felt as if ice water ran through me. Monroe had found our weak spot. My father gripped my hand tightly. Rosalind, you need to stop this investigation now. The divorce is done, the Whitakers have paid their price. Don't dig any deeper. But Dad, no buts. I won't let you risk your life. He was right. If I kept going, our entire family could collapse. But letting Monroe and Graham walk free, I couldn't accept that. Just then, the butler rushed in. Sir, the hospital just called. Mrs. Rosalind, your father-in-law suffered a stroke. He's in emergency surgery. My father-in-law over 60 but always healthy. How could this happen? Let's go, my father said, jumping to his feet. In the VIP corridor at Mount Sinai Hospital, Nicole was screaming while my mother-in-law sat blankly on a chair. The moment she saw me, Nicole lunged forward to slap me. This is your fault. You did this to my father. My father caught her arm. Nicole, calm down. Calm down, she shouted hysterically. He collapsed after watching the press conference. The doctor said even if he survives, he might be paralyzed. Rosalind, are you happy now? I couldn't speak. I might have hated the Whitakers, but I'd never wished death on them. The operating room doors opened, and the doctor stepped out. The patient is stable for now, but the next 48 hours are critical. My mother-in-law stood up trembling, then suddenly dropped to her knees in front of me. Rosalind, please. Forgive us. My husband's like this, and Graham is losing his mind. Please stop. I quickly knelt down to help her up. Mother, please don't. But she clutched my hands tightly, refusing to let go. I know Graham was wrong. He's already signed the divorce papers. Please don't make this any worse. Just then, hurried footsteps echoed Graham. He froze when he saw me. Mother, how's Dad? Stable for now. Graham apologized to Rosalind. He turned to me, eyes conflicted, then bowed his head. Rosalind, I'm sorry, truly sorry. Please forgive my family. Watching that arrogant man bow before me, I should have felt satisfied, but all I felt was a bitter sting in my throat. Before I could reply, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted. I need to take this. He stepped into the corner of the hallway, turning his back to us, speaking quietly. I followed silently and caught fragments of his words. Mr. Monroe, I did what you said. She's here. Yes, I understand. But what about what you promised? He paused, lowering his voice. Don't worry. I'll make sure she stops the investigation. The lawyer already has the countersuit ready. Graham's apology had been an act. He was still working with Monroe. Every trace of hesitation inside me vanished. Graham, I already gave you your chance. I turned to my mother-in-law. Please take care of your husband. I'll come back later. Leaving the hospital, I immediately called Olivia. Prepare Valerie to testify. And file lawsuits against Monroe and Graham for corporate fraud. Are you sure? What about your father's situation? I'll handle it. This time, I won't let them rise again. 4 days after my father-in-law was hospitalized, Whitaker Construction called an emergency board meeting. As a shareholder holding 15% of the company, I arrived unannounced. When I opened the conference room door, every eye turned toward me. Graham sat in the chairman's seat, pale-faced, gripping his pen so tightly it was nearly broken. Rosalind. he hissed through clenched teeth. You have no right to be here. According to company bylaws, any shareholder with over 10% ownership has the right to attend all board meetings. I hold 15%, so I believe I have every right to be here, don't I? The room buzzed with whispers. Graham shot up from his chair. Impossible. Where did you get those shares? My father's special advisor, Mr. Hill, entered and placed a stack of documents on the table. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday the Harrington Group acquired the entire stake held by First National Bank in Whitaker Construction, a total of 15%. Here is the ownership certificate. Graham snatched it, eyes wide. That's impossible. The bank's director promised to sell them to me. Unfortunately for you, I offered a higher price. In truth, I had paid 30% above market value to win those shares from Monroe's hands, but it was worth it. That stake made me the largest shareholder outside the Whitaker family. I turned to the board members. Ladies and gentlemen, given the current situation, plunging stock prices, banks withdrawing credit, a liquidity crisis, I propose we remove Graham Whitaker from his position as chairman and CEO, and temporarily appoint an independent director. Graham slammed the table. Nonsense. This company is mine. You're wrong, I said calmly. This company was your father's. You've nearly destroyed it. Over the past 3 years, you've embezzled $20 million, falsified records, inflated project costs, and driven the company into debt. Lies. Lies. He shouted. The audit will tell us whether they're lies. I looked around the room. Let's vote. As expected, the result was unanimous. Graham was dismissed immediately. 2 guards escorted him out. Through the glass wall, I watched him kick the wall and scream hysterically before being dragged away. Mrs. Harrington, the acting chairman, Mr. Foster, said cautiously, do you have any suggestions on how we can overcome this crisis? I closed my folder. 2 things. First, Harrington Group is willing to offer a short-term loan of $30 million at an annual interest rate of 8%. Second, my father will personally purchase an additional 10% of newly issued shares. If both conditions were approved, Harrington Group would own at least 25%, becoming the majority shareholder. Mr. Foster swallowed hard. That will require a shareholder vote. Of course. I'll await good news. When I left the building, the early summer sunlight was blinding. My phone buzzed a text from Olivia. Valerie agreed to testify but wants to meet you first. Set it up for tonight. As I slipped my phone away, a familiar voice called behind me. Rosalind. I turned. Nicole. No makeup, swollen eyes, hospital bracelet still on her wrist. What do you want? Nicole bit her lip and bowed deeply. I know it's too late to apologize, she choked. But now I understand everything. My father's in the hospital. My brother's gone mad with hatred. The company's collapsing. It's all my fault. Get to the point. I cut in. I know. Things about my brother and Monroe, things that could help you. Monroe doesn't just want the Hudson North Complex project. He's using my brother to take over the entire Harrington Group. I heard them say. Monroe told my brother the incident 20 years ago was only the beginning, that he would destroy your father's reputation forever. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm scared. My brother's lost his mind. He doesn't even care if our father lives. Rosalind, I just want to protect my parents. I studied her carefully, then handed her a business card. If you remember anything else, call me. Nicole clutched the card like a lifeline, bowed again and left. If what she said was true, Monroe's real goal wasn't the project, it was the entire Harrington empire. Graham was just a pawn. As I was still processing this, my phone rang. My father. His voice was tense. Rosalind, get back to the office now. Monroe's buying our shares. He's already past 5% and climbing. The stock price is up 15%. He's manipulating the market. At Harrington Group headquarters on Wall Street, the tension was palpable. My father and the executives huddled around the trading screen. The CFO pointed. Monroe's buying through 3 shell companies. He's spent over $1 billion. We can't trace the source. My father frowned. He's allied with Temasek Holdings and Blackstone, a joint venture. 2 financial giants. Activate the poison pill defense, I said. It was a takeover defense strategy, issuing more shares to dilute ownership. No time, it needs at least 3 days for board approval. What about a white knight? I turned to the chairman of the pension fund, my father's old friend. He sighed. The government just tightened regulations. Public funds can't intervene in private disputes. Monroe's attack was faster and fiercer than expected. At this rate, within 3 days he'd own over 10% and become the largest shareholder of Harrington Group. Dad, I said suddenly, why is he so obsessed with the Harrington Group? It can't just be competition. It's more than that. After the Nevada mine explosion, I cut ties with him and left Las Vegas for New York. A few years later, his company lost its mining license after repeated accidents. He's always believed I was behind it. So, this is a 20-year revenge. My father nodded. He's been waiting for this moment. Then we can't surrender. I looked around the table. Gentlemen, I have an idea. 2 hours later, Harrington Group released a statement. It would spin off the Hudson North Complex, its most valuable asset, into an independent subsidiary, and invite strategic investors. That meant even if Monroe succeeded in taking over, he wouldn't touch the company's crown jewel. Immediately after the announcement, the stock dropped 8%, dramatically increasing Monroe's acquisition cost. My father nodded. A clever move. But only temporary. I fell silent. We had to find Monroe's weakness fast. Just then Olivia called. Rosalind. Bad news. Valerie's missing. What? My heart sank. She was on her way to meet you tonight when a car cut her off. A group of men in black kidnapped her. They were armed. My guards didn't even have time to react. A chilling realization hit me. Monroe. Or Graham. Olivia continued. We checked the cameras, but the car had fake plates. I immediately called Nicole. Where's your brother? I don't know. Her voice trembled. He hasn't been to the hospital since last night. Rosalind, what's going on? I hung up without answering. If Valerie was in Monroe or Graham's hands, the consequences would be catastrophic. Dad, I have to find Valerie, I said. She's our only witness. Just as my father was about to speak, the secretary burst in, pale-faced. Sir, urgent news. CNBC just reported that you're linked to the Nevada mine cover-up 20 years ago, the one that killed 7 miners. The prosecutor's office has opened an investigation. I grabbed my phone. The top headline read, Harrington Group chairman accused of covering up Nevada mine tragedy. Monroe, my father muttered. He wants to destroy me. I held his hand. Dad, stay calm. We'll issue a statement denying it, say we're cooperating with investigators. It's useless. If he dared to expose it, he has evidence. My phone rang again, an unknown number. Monroe's deep, gravelly voice came through. Do you like my gift? I forced my voice steady. Monroe, kidnapping Valerie is a crime. Kidnapping? I don't know what you're talking about. But if your father wants to talk, I'm open to it. Talk about what? Simple. If he withdraws from Harrington Group and sells me his shares, the mine accident will stay buried forever. Keep dreaming. Don't be hasty. I'll be waiting for your father tomorrow at 10 a.m. at my private club in Washington, D.C. After that, there will be no second chance. He hung up. Rosalind, my father rasped, we've lost. Not yet. If we find Valerie, she can testify against Monroe and Graham. But that accident was real. 7 lives were real. Monroe was right. That's a debt you have to pay, Dad. Looking at his ashen face, my chest tightened. I gripped his hand. Dad, there's still one last way. What way? Confession. I wasn't the mastermind. I only knew and stayed silent. If you cooperate with the investigation and compensate the victims' families, your sentence will be much lighter. My father stayed silent for a long time. I continued, as for the corporation, let me handle it. I'll protect Harrington's assets. He sighed, then nodded. Right then, the door burst open. Olivia, out of breath. I found her. Valerie's being held in an abandoned warehouse in Phoenix, Arizona. She sent a hidden location signal before she lost contact. It's weak but enough to pinpoint the area. Have you called the police? Not yet. If there's a mole among them, call the security team. We're going ourselves. That's too dangerous. My father stopped me. If they're armed. Dad, this is our only chance. Valerie's the only witness who can prove Monroe and Graham's conspiracy. He tried to argue, but I'd already grabbed my coat and ran out with Olivia. Inside the elevator, Olivia handed me a small device, mini recorder. Take it just in case. I slipped it into my inner pocket. Contact the lawyer. If you don't hear from me in an hour, call the police immediately. The night outside Phoenix was eerily quiet. Our car stopped in the woods about a mile from the warehouse. You're sure this is the place? I whispered. Olivia nodded, pointing at the red dot on her phone. The signal's coming from that metal roof warehouse. At least 10 men in black patrolling. All armed. We need a distraction, I said, thinking fast when a black Mercedes rolled up to the warehouse entrance. The car door opened, and a familiar figure stepped out, Graham. Damn it, Olivia muttered. What the hell is he doing here? I stared at him, disheveled, hair a mess, suit wrinkled. One of the guards approached, said something, and Graham nodded before heading inside. This is our chance, I whispered. While they're focused on him, I'll sneak in from the back. Are you insane? Olivia grabbed my arm. There's no other choice. We have to save Valerie. Then I'm coming with you. No. If I'm not out in 30 minutes, call the police. Before she could argue, I disappeared into the darkness. Behind the warehouse was a small window, about 6 feet high. I stacked some old wooden planks and climbed up. Through the grimy glass, I saw piles of old furniture inside. The window wasn't locked. I quietly opened it and slipped in. A dark hallway stretched ahead. I pressed my back against the wall, holding my breath. Voices echoed from deeper inside. Mr. Monroe said she has to talk before sunrise. It was Graham's voice, tense and exhausted. Another man replied, She's tough. We've beaten her twice, and she still won't talk. Useless. Graham roared. I'll do it myself. Footsteps approached. I hid in the ward, shadows. Graham and 2 guards walked past, heading toward the room at the end of the hall. I waited for them to disappear, then followed quietly. The door was slightly ajar. Through the crack, I saw Valerie tied to a chair, her face covered in blood, one eye swollen shut. Graham threw a bucket of water at her face. Valerie jolted awake, trembling. I'll ask one last time. He growled, gripping her chin. Where's the copy of the documents? I don't know. Don't play dumb, he shouted, slapping her hard. Mr. Monroe said you photographed everything in the safe. Valerie spat on the floor. There's nothing. Losing control, Graham pulled a folding knife from his pocket. Looks like you need a little motivation. The blade grazed Valerie's cheek. She cried out in despair. I couldn't take it anymore. I kicked the door open. Graham. He froze, eyes wide. His voice cracked. Rosalind, what the hell are you doing here? Let her go. I shouted. Perfect timing. I'll just kill you both. The guards lunged at me. One yanked my hair and slammed me to the floor. My head hit the concrete, and everything spun. Graham crouched down, eyes wild. You just walked into your own trap, Rosalind. I gritted my teeth, meeting his gaze. Kidnapping is a federal crime, minimum 10 years in prison. He laughed manically. Who's going to tell? You or that half-dead girl. You think Monroe will protect you? How naive. When everything blows up, you'll be the first one he sacrifices. The smile vanished from his face. What are you saying? He had you embezzle, cheat, steal files, and even commit murder. You got your hands dirty while he took the money. Graham's face twisted, the knife trembling in his hand. Shut up. How much is the Hudson North mine worth? 10 billion. 20? And how much did you get? 500 million. A billion? 2 billion. He screamed, then froze, realizing what he'd said. Shame turned into madness. He raised the knife, roaring, You're setting me up. Wake up, Graham. Monroe won't give you a dime. He didn't even pay Valerie the 2 million he promised. My words hit him like a blade to the chest. His hand fell, his eyes darting wildly. Boss, don't listen to her. One guard shouted. Mr. Monroe keeps his word. Shut up, Graham yelled, punching the wall. Get out. All of you. I need to talk to her alone. The two men exchanged glances, then left. Graham locked the door and turned back to me. Rosalind, how much do you know? Enough to put you and Monroe in prison. He collapsed onto a wooden crate, breathing hard. Monroe tricked me. At first he just wanted to share project profits. Then he told me about the rare earth mine. Forced me to forge your psychiatric report so he could control you and the entire Harrington group. So his real goal was never the project. It was full control of the company. I glanced at Valerie. She was his operative too, wasn't she? A spy he trained. I had no idea. Valerie weakly nodded in confirmation. And now he wants both of you silenced, I said coldly. Graham's face went pale. He said, if I find the copied documents, he'll let me live. And you believed him? Your father's in the hospital, Graham. Do you really think he'll spare your family? Graham trembled, then dropped to his knees before me. Rosalind, please help me. I was wrong. I can help you, but only on 2 conditions. Anything. 1. Release Valerie and let her testify. 2. Hand over all evidence of your transactions with Monroe. There's no other choice, I said firmly. This is your only chance. Fine. The evidence is in Monroe's private club in the Georgetown area of Washington, D.C., inside the safe in his office. I froze the very place where Monroe had arranged to meet my father tomorrow. The unlock code? I don't know, but he uses a fingerprint scanner. Suddenly, noise erupted outside. Graham's face went pale. It's Monroe's men. Untie Valerie, we have to get out of here. Graham quickly loosened the ropes. I helped Valerie up, she was so weak she could barely stand. Where's the exit? Back door. Through the warehouse window, he pointed. As soon as we reached the hall, the main door was kicked off its hinges. A rough voice shouted, where are they? The boss said not one of them leaves alive. Graham's face turned white as chalk. That's Monroe's mercenary leader. Run. I supported Valerie as we ran toward the warehouse, footsteps and shouts echoing behind us. Graham helped push Valerie through the window but stayed behind. Aren't you coming? He shook his head. I have to hold them off. Rosalind. I'm sorry. Before I could respond, he shoved me out the window. I fell to the ground just in time to see Olivia arriving with the police. Over here. She yelled. Officers surrounded the warehouse. Paramedics lifted Valerie into an ambulance. Olivia threw her arms around me. Are you okay? Graham, he's still inside. Before I could say more, gunfire erupted. Chaos followed. Minutes later, the police dragged several men in black outside. Graham was carried out on a stretcher, his chest soaked in blood. Is he alive? I asked frantically. He's been shot, but his life's not in danger, an officer said. Thanks to him holding them off, we got here in time. I didn't hear the rest. Tears blurred my vision. The man I, once despised, had saved me. Back at Olivia's apartment, even the hot water in the bathtub couldn't chase away the chill in my chest. Graham's words still echoed in my mind. The evidence is in his office safe. Are you insane? Olivia shot up. You're going to break into Monroe's private club? That's suicide. It's the only way to prove his crimes, I said with certainty. And if you get caught? I won't. I opened my laptop and pointed at the building's floor plan. Tomorrow morning at 10, Monroe meets my father. Between 9 and 10, he'll be there preparing. That's when I move. And how will you get inside? There's a service entrance. The staff shift changes at 8:30. I'll blend in. But I'll need a distraction. I'll cause a scene. Olivia sighed. At least wait until Valerie wakes up. The hospital called. Valerie was stable but under observation for 24 hours. Graham was still in a coma after surgery. Before dawn, we rehearsed every step of the plan, set a password for emergencies and outlined backup options. I handed Olivia a USB drive. If I'm not back by 10:30, release everything. She took it, eyes red. Be careful. The next morning, I dressed in a server's uniform, wore a wig, glasses, and carried a fake staff badge. Inside the club, Everything was blindingly luxurious. I kept my head down, pretending to prepare breakfast. At exactly 8:50, Monroe appeared with 2 bodyguards. Has the representative from Harrington Group arrived? Not yet, sir. The meeting's at 10. Tell them to come straight to my office. And bring me the finest tea. He went upstairs. I slipped into the restroom. When the hallway fell silent, I made my way toward his office. A guard stood outside. I hid behind the corner and texted Olivia. Seconds later, the fire alarm blared in the main hall. What's going on? The guard asked. Go check it out, his partner said. I'll stay. 1 left. 1 remained. I clenched my jaw and stepped out. Who's there? He barked. Tea order from the boss, I said, holding a tray I'd taken from the kitchen. He frowned. Nobody told me that. Just then, his radio crackled. Intruder alert. Need backup. Hurry. I slipped into the office, my heart pounding. The room was spacious, with glass walls and shelves. The safe was behind a bookshelf, locked by fingerprint. I put on medical gloves and pressed Graham's fingerprint sample. First try failed. Second still no. Cold sweat ran down my temple. Third try I used his thumb. Click. The safe opened. Inside were stacks of files and several USB drives. I opened one folder labeled Nevada Mine Accident. Inside were old investigation reports and a photo, a young Monroe standing beside a man who looked exactly like my father. No time to think, I photographed everything. A small black ledger sat beside it, Monroe's secret accounting book. Lists of bribes, dates, sums, locations. I photographed every page and put everything back. Just as I turned to leave, footsteps approached. I quickly rolled under the desk. Sir, Harrington's representative has arrived. Good. Bring them to the conference room. I'll be right down. Footsteps faded. I waited a few seconds, then slipped out and ran toward the back door. On the stairs, I bumped into a waitress. Hey, you're the new kitchen girl, right? What are you doing here? I lowered my head, muttered something and hurried off. Behind me came a shout. Wait. She's not one of us. I ran as fast as I could through the hallways, pushed open the emergency exit, and sprinted into the garden. Catch her. I climbed onto a trash bin, vaulted over the wall, and fell hard, pain shot through my ankle, but I didn't stop. I limped to the car. Olivia started the engine the moment I opened the door. Did you get it? I nodded, breathless. Go. Back to the office. In the rearview mirror, I saw several men in black rushing out of the club too late. At Harrington Group headquarters, I uploaded the photos to the computer. My father and the lawyers were speechless as Monroe's black ledger appeared on the screen. With this, he can be charged with bribery, market manipulation, and insider trading. I opened another file. This is a secret recording of Monroe and his accomplice, a full plan to destroy the company, bribing Graham, planting Valerie as a spy, and using the old mine tragedy to frame my father. My father's voice trembled. That monster. Dad, we have the evidence. But we need to act fast, he'll find out soon. What are you planning? A press conference. We'll expose everything and file criminal charges for conspiracy, kidnapping, and bribery. What about Valerie? She's awake and willing to testify. Even if she's weak, this evidence is enough. You contact the press. I'll prepare the documents. After they left, Olivia asked quietly, Rosalind, what about Graham? There was a time I wanted him to suffer. But now I'll let the law decide. If he cooperates and testifies against Monroe, maybe his sentence will be reduced. My phone rang, an unknown number. Monroe's cold voice cut through the line. You really think taking a few pictures will bring me down? How did he find out so fast? I muttered. Your father killed 7 people. And his own brother, he sneered. When the press hears that, what do you think they'll say? I felt lightning strike through me. What the hell are you talking about? Ask your father. He hung up. What happened? Olivia asked. My voice trembled. Monroe said, my father killed his own brother. A heavy silence fell. Then my father's weak voice came through the phone. Rosalind, maybe it's time you knew the truth. My father's hands shook as he opened the safe and pulled out an old photo album. He turned to the middle page, two young men smiling in front of a mine. The man on the left was my father. The one on the right looked exactly like him. "That's your father's younger brother, Jacob Harrington," he said hoarsely. 2 years younger than me, hot-tempered, honest and brave. I choked up. I never knew I had an uncle. The day of the accident, he closed his eyes. Jacob was off duty but rushed in to save his coworkers. He rescued 5 men before the tunnel collapsed a second time. He and 7 miners were buried alive. He clenched his fists. Monroe was the safety supervisor. He bribed the inspector to hide the real death toll, listing Jacob and 2 other miners as missing. I knew, but I stayed silent. So when Monroe said you killed your brother, he meant you never cleared his name. The Harrington group was just starting back. Then, I was a coward. I hugged him tightly. "No, Dad. Uncle Jacob was a hero. And now we'll fight for his justice." My father looked up, eyes filled with sorrow. "What do you plan to do?" "We'll still hold the press conference. Not only to expose Monroe's crimes but also to reveal the truth about the Nevada mine tragedy. But Jacob's reputation, he saved 5 lives. He deserves to be remembered as a hero, not forgotten." My father stayed silent for a long while, then nodded. I stepped outside and called Olivia. "Can Valerie attend the press conference?" The doctor said yes, but she'll need a wheelchair. She hesitated. "Rosalind, latest update. Monroe's transferring all his assets overseas. Looks like he's planning to flee. Move the conference up to 3 p.m. We can't wait any longer." "Will that be enough time?" "It has to be." I gritted my teeth. "What about the police?" "They need more proof before they can arrest him." "Then we'll give them some." At 3 p.m., the Washington Convention Center was packed with reporters. In the waiting room, Valerie, pale but resolute, sat in her wheelchair. "Ready?" "Rosalind, I'm sorry, and thank you. Today's your new beginning." My father walked in, composed but weary. "Everything's ready. Any word on Monroe?" "He booked a flight to Singapore tonight," Olivia said. "He won't get away. The police are outside, waiting for solid proof." I held up a USB drive. "Here's everything: the bribery records, money laundering, market manipulation, and an audio recording of Monroe's plan to destroy us." "Audio recording?" Olivia's eyes widened. "Yes. From last night." Graham woke up and confessed that he'd secretly recorded several conversations with Monroe. My father froze. "Graham helped us in exchange for a lighter sentence. He'll testify at the conference." At 2:50 we were called to the stage. I took a deep breath and stepped to the microphone. "Thank you for coming. Today, I will reveal a massive corporate conspiracy and the hidden truth behind the Nevada mine disaster from 20 years ago." I pressed the remote. On the screen appeared Monroe's voice. "There's a rare earth mine under Hudson North worth at least $20 billion. Make Graham get close to Rosalind at all costs." The room erupted in murmurs. I continued the presentation. Secret ledgers, money laundering schemes, stock manipulation, records. Finally, my voice trembled as I played one last recording. "Jacob Harrington, that fool, risked his life for a bunch of worthless miners. And his brother was even dumber, covering it up to protect the company." The crowd exploded. My father broke down in tears. "Mr. Monroe, you're guilty not only of financial crimes but also of concealing an accident that killed 8 people, including my uncle, Jacob Harrington, the hero you turned into a missing man." I gave a signal. The back doors opened. 2 officers escorted Graham Whitaker in. "Graham Whitaker will testify under protected witness status." Graham briefly recounted how Monroe ordered him to approach me, steal documents, and forge medical reports. Then Valerie came to the stage, telling everything from her recruitment as a corporate spy to the kidnapping and torture. I concluded, "With this evidence, I accuse Richard Monroe of bribery, money laundering, corporate fraud, and kidnapping. I also demand that the Nevada mine case be reopened to restore the victim's honor." At that moment, the doors burst open. Monroe stormed in, face red with rage. "Lies! You fabricated this evidence to destroy me." I calmly pressed another button. The screen showed Monroe counting cash with the deputy director of the Securities Commission. "This was filmed last night. In your private club," I said coldly. "Would you like me to play the rest?" Monroe's face turned ghostly white. He spun around to flee, but the police blocked him. "Richard Monroe, you're under arrest for multiple financial crimes," the inspector said, holding the warrant. As the cuffs clicked shut, the room erupted in applause. Monroe glared at me with venom before being led away. After the press conference, my father and I immediately called an emergency board meeting to stabilize the market. Police searched Monroe's properties and uncovered undeniable evidence. A week later, Valerie was relocated abroad under the Witness Protection Program. Graham, for cooperating, received only a 3-year sentence. Whitaker Construction declared bankruptcy. Nicole, Graham's sister, went from heiress to office clerk. Monroe was indicted on 12 counts involving over $3 billion. Most importantly, a special commission was formed to reopen the Nevada mine case. A month later, my father and I traveled to Nevada. At the old mine site, we built a memorial for Jacob Harrington and the other victims. My father ran his hand over the engraved name, tears streaming down. "Jacob, I'm sorry. I finally brought you justice." I placed flowers at the monument's base. The desert wind blew softly like an answer from afar. A year later, under my leadership, Harrington Group recovered from the crisis, seized all of Monroe's assets, and doubled its market value. I established the Jacob Foundation to support victims of corporate espionage. Valerie became one of its first members. Olivia's law firm rose to become one of New York's most respected. Graham's sentence was reduced for good behavior. Before his release, he sent a letter through Olivia. "I don't ask for forgiveness, only that you know I truly regret everything. If there's another life, I'd do it all differently." I told Olivia, "Give him a job at the foundation." "Are you sure? After everything he did?" "Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is getting back up." Olivia shook her head softly. "You've changed, Rosalind. You used to never forgive betrayal." I smiled. "Yes, I have changed. Hatred only breeds pain, but forgiveness opens new paths." My phone rang. My father. "Rosalind, the Hudson North inauguration's about to begin. Where are you?" "On my way." I grabbed my bag and stepped out of the office. Sunshine gleamed, and a spring breeze carried warmth through the air. I inhaled deeply and walked forward steady toward my future. There are losses we can never erase, but if we have the courage to face them, we can turn pain into strength to move ahead. The story of my father and me wasn't just about reclaiming justice. It was about rediscovering faith in people, in truth, and in the power of forgiveness. Because sometimes true victory doesn't happen in court but in the peace we find within ourselves. And you, if it were you, could you forgive someone who betrayed you, or would you let justice speak instead? Share your thoughts in the comments so we can reflect, learn, and grow together through every story of life. And don't forget to follow for the next journeys where emotion, lessons, and humanity walk hand in hand.